Oop. A little mental mishap there. I know I normally have my camera on before. Yeah, well, anyways, hello everybody. Yeah, so it looks like we're gonna wait a few minutes to see if anybody shows up. See, come along with the snorks, swim along with the snorks. So much to see waiting for you and me. Have some fun with the snorks. And if you breathe underwater, where would you go? If you had friends underwater, who would you know? Come along and sing along too. Yeah! Come along with the snorks. Swim along with the snorks. So much to see waiting for you and me. Have some fun with the come along with the have some fun with the snorks. Anyways, walking through a town in a faceless crowd, I need to feel the touch of a friend. In the countryside, I wander far and wide. Isolation gets me again. I don't know where to go when I feel like crying. Oh my, time to open myself, do something new. I want to stop and grow up a bit. And suddenly my intuition and my wisdom grow. And then I know that most of all I stand compassionately. Strangers wherever they go. Thank you for waking me up. Get along, gang, get along, gang. Each one is special in their own way. Coming about a get along, gang, get along, gang. Get up with the get along, gang. When you know it's okay. Get up with the get along, gang. Oh, get up. No one should terrify the neighborhood. And be on top, playing pranks on everyone. King will reign supreme, and all the air on the right. So on history, and all the air on the right. So join in the jubilee. Cats are priority. Oh, 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 oh. We can win with you. We are. Uh, me. Everyone they know. Go on, Dragon Balls. Play with Dragon Balls. Everyone they know. As you fly away. Like father, like son, always number one. Yes, there's buddies, there's pals. Always seem to work things out. Can't you see they're two of a kind? Looking for a real good time. Port to the Goof Troop, and we always stick together. Yeah, we're the Goof Troop, best of friends forever. Yeah, we're the Goof Troop, and we always stick together. Yeah, we're the Goof Troop, best of friends forever. Now we're calling everyone. Join the fun. Port to the Goof Troop. Yeah. Let me see what else. Ready to away. Here's a ray. Oh, no, 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 no. Everyone they want it. Oh, oh, oh. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web and he sighs. Can't you see? Just like flies. Look out. There goes Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen up. He's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from the... Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Welcome in, he is yours. Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big hang-up. Whenever there's a hang-up, you'll find a Spider-Man. Crypto, the super dog. Crypto, the super dog. Punky Brewster, I know that you are here with me. Punky Brewster, I know that you are here with me. Oh no, Punky Brewster, I know that you are here with me. I know, Punky Brewster. You know that you are here with me. Okay, so we're now coming up on 8.5 minutes. I guess it's a good time to go over what's on tap. So, like 4 articles to go through, plus the wrestling roundup. A couple anime related articles, as now they're coming out with, now Netflix Japan is coming out with a live action Yu Hakusho show. So we'll hopefully get to see what that's all about. Also, one of the bigger pieces of news stateside here is that Vic Mignogna. We got some Vic news, some positive Vic news. He, along with Anime Amateur, teaming up to form their own dubbing studio, and apparently it is sparking some outrage from his detractors. So initially, they're saying, also on the comic side of things, we got 10 versions of Spider-Man that need their own film, according to Frank Martin, and also Marvel is sexuality swapping again. We'll kind of get more into that as well. With that, also as I said, we have some. We of course have some, we'll have the wrestling roundup. We have some WWE and some AEW news to go over. Particularly AEW news leading into this weekend's Death Before Dishonor Ring of Honor event. without any further ado, why don't we go ahead? It's now past the 10-minute mark, so why don't we go ahead and get started on our news coverage here. Huh. Of course, this is one of my all-time favorite animes. I watched the Funimation dub before, of course, the majority of them became very outspoken SJWs. But anyways, and tried to destroy Vic for their own selfish reasons. With that, though, here we go. Netflix Japan announces cast for live-action Yu Yu Hakusho. Director revealed he, quote, honestly wondered if an adaptation would even be possible. And I could see that, unquote, because it's, with all the effects that you have to have in there, with a lot of the incarnation of a lot of the spirit powers, Yusuke with his spirit gun and spirit shotgun, Kuwabara with the spirit sword. How do you make it look in our world real? Somebody like Kurama pulling a flower out of his hair and turning it into a thorny whip, or how do you have guys like 5'2", a la, Hiei there, having a dragon come out of his arm. That kind of stuff is probably, let's see. So, article by Nerdigans published yesterday. So let's go ahead and get into this a little bit here. Netflix Japan has officially revealed details regarding the cast and director of their upcoming live-action Yu Yu Hakusho adaptation, including the actors set to bring the dynamic four to life on the small screen. And surprisingly, none of them appear to be gender, race, or sexuality swapped. Yeah, considering how they've been doing that lately, yeah, I doubt very seriously if you knew the characters, if any of that would have actually worked at all. I mean, granted, Kurama was already considered somewhat effeminate, but but he's still a guy when it comes down to it. So, revealing one of the main four every day starting on July 16th, along with comments from each respective actor regarding their respective castings. Netflix Japan kicked off their announcements with the man, the myth, the legend, Yusuke Urameshi. As per the streaming giant's Japanese arm, the series' lead spirit detective will be portrayed by Takumi Kitamura. Netflix series Yu Yu White Paper. The main character Yusuke Urameshi is comments from Takumi Kitamura and Sho Tsukikawa have arrived. Continued. That's the guy who they're putting in there to play Yusuke in the live action version. Kitamura's filmography includes several leading roles in various anime and live action adaptations, including Naomi Katagaki in Hello World, Haruki Shiga in the live action adaptation of Let Me Eat Your Pancreas, and Takamichi Hanagaki in the live action Tokyo Revengers film. Look at his face right there. That's from, I guess, Tokyo Revengers 2021. Quote, at first I thought it was a huge joke because of the nature of the series, and all I could do was laugh, unquote, said Kitamura, translated by a Deepel. Quote, but I was really excited to be able to challenge myself again with director Tsukikawa, this time on Netflix, unquote. Quote, I believe that this work is so historical that it is no exaggeration to say that it is the origin of Japan's proud manga and anime culture, unquote. Ah, that's interesting. He's calling where most people would think it would be something like Dragon Ball. Wow, that's kind of interesting. But Yu Yu Hakusho is a pretty good series and does have a pretty indemitable following. It is universal and unique, which is probably why they didn't feel the need to mess with it in terms of like what they were talking about at the very beginning of the article here, where they weren't going to like be doing any swapping. That you old bat. Chapter 92, The Day Before the Storm, Shueisha Words and Art by Yoshihiro Togashi. Save anybody? Nope. Alright. Speaking to his approach towards portraying Yusuke, Kitamura noted, quote, I think I have the impression that he has a darker atmosphere than the original work. I play the role of Yusuke with a sense of the Yankees' quick-wittedness and the kindness of not turning away what is in front of him, unquote. Quote, it's very congenial, unquote, he said of the series filming. I think it is a challenge for all the cast and crew, so we always keep that in mind, but we enjoy making the production, unquote. Oh yeah, that's okay. That's just Yu Yu Hakusho episode 21. This is from the anime. This is Life or Death Counterattack. Yes, this is where he was bluffing the lead sacred beast. Actually, he was bluffing his pet bird, not him himself. Quote, I am happy to be able to deliver historical masterpiece, in smaller quotes, Yu Yu Hakusho, as a live action series, as I thought that Japan needs to send out more messages to the world, unquote, the actor concluded. Quote, I wish for further spread of Japanese entertainment and to create a work that people around the world can enjoy. Well, yeah, well, as long as, of course, people out west here aren't trying to change it to fit their own, thoughts and narratives and all that, I think most people would enjoy, seeing the Japanese perspective on things. As long as, you don't have, Westerners here or whoever just trying to just hijack the medium. The next day, Netflix Japan confirmed that Jun Shison, whose impressive list of credits includes stints as Right Suzaki Tokyo One Go in Reisha Sentai Toger and Masa in the live action adaptation of The Way of the House Husband had been cast as the demon fox Kurama. And this is what Kurama would look like in the real world. And they got him more in purple here, where it seemed like it was pink in the show, but I think it was generally considered purple. Reflecting on his casting, Shitsone asserted, quote, I had watched and loved, smaller quotes, Yu Yu Hakusho when I was a student, so I never thought I would be offered the chance to play the role, unquote. Quote, of course, I was happy, but at the same time, I felt pressure to play the character of Kurama in this work that has many fans around the world, unquote. He admitted, quote, however, the director is Tsukikawa, who shot my first video work, the leading work I wanted to show how I had matured over the past 10 years. And I wanted to be a part of the series that director Tsukikawa was helming, so I decided to do it. There's some manga pages of there's Yusuke looking kind of like a cat. Demons have mothers? Yeah, this is of course from is from a manga. Let's see, Yakusho Chapter 22. What binds a mother and son? This, of course, this was played out in some of the earlier episodes when Yusuke had to try to get the artifacts. The actor also offered his thoughts on the appeal of Yu Yu Hakusho, opining, quote, in every time period, in every environment, people are fighting for their own things. For money, for status, for friends. Each of them has their own reason for fighting, and the direction of that reason must be different. Unquote. Quote, however, in this work, everyone is fighting for something or someone else, even though they have different feelings, respect each other, and sometimes clash with each other. Unquote. As anybody who's seen the anime knows this. I mean, there are times Yusuke even himself admitted at one point that he would have hated to have to arrest Hiei if Hiei had killed Torukane in the rescue Yukina arc. Let's see. Quote, times change, but I feel there is something in this work that resonates with people no matter what era they live in. Well, that's true. That is, I would have to agree with that analysis right there. There's um there's Kurama in his full demon fox form right there. Let's see. Yu Yu Hakusho episode 102, torn between identities, happening during the Dark Tournament saga, of course. Early aspect of it, I believe. Likewise, discussing his experience filming the series, Shison stated, quote, I have experienced so many things that I don't think I have ever been in a shooting environment like this before. Um, We spent about 2 to 3 years working together on the visuals alone, going through trial and error to find the finest details. The actor detailed. Quote, the sheer size of the set, the scale of what we put into each scene and each cut, it was all new to me, and it was an experience that reminded me of my beginnings. The shoot where we are all exploring creativity with the theme from quote from Japan to the world on smaller quote has been very fulfilling, and I don't want it to end, unquote. And he is from chapter 82 of Hakuto the Fox Demon Awakens. And I believe that was pretty close to the same title of the actual anime episode when they showed it during the anime. Let's see. Addressing fans of the series around the world, Shisone's message to Yu Yu Hakusho fans around the world, translated by Deep Bell, quote, this work has been serialized for more than 30 years. I am sure that many of you have many feelings for this work, and there are many different interpretations, unquote. Quote, we are all working together to create this work with everything we can express in this day and age in Japan, unquote. He reassured, quote, I would be very happy if you could look forward to it, unquote. It's from the anime episode 102, Torn Between Identities. Oh yeah, this I think is during his time when he was also trying to be an advisor to. Well, actually, no. That's more like from the time in Dark Tournament. Actually, no. Now that I think about it, that's more for the Demon Tournament saga at the end because. Next up was the group's third recruit, the short, three-eyed demon Hiei, who Netflix. I think it should say. Look like they did a typo right there. I haven't heard of a country called Japan. I've heard of Japan, but not Japan. Announced on July 18th, would be played by Kanada Honda. Netflix Japan. I don't think I've ever heard of that one. There's a guy who's playing Hiei. What did they say it was again? Oh, Kanada Honga. Honga has starred in several anime, manga, live-action film across his career, including The Prince of Tennis as Ryoma Ichizen, Fullmetal Alchemist as Envy, Yeah, actually, he does look like he could portray. Does kind of look like he could potentially portray. It's kind of funny because when Funimation, of course, did both the dubs of Full Metal Alchemist and Yu Yu Hakusho at the same time. Let's see. Oh, never mind. I know Wendy Powell did Envy's voice in the Funimation dub, and then Yu Yu Hakusho, she actually came back and did mummy looking Demon King. Chuck Huber did Hiei's voice in that. Armin in Attack on Titan and Kingdom as Seikyo. I was very happy when I heard, quote, I was very happy when I heard about, as I have known it for a long time, unquote, exclaimed Honga. I was very much looking forward to the filming because I knew it would definitely be a big production, featuring flashy battle scenes with a variety of characters. So there's Honga as Envy in the Full Metal Alchemist live action film. Quote, of course, the variety of characters and original special moves are interesting, but the way the main characters grow and confront difficult enemies is a model of Shonen Jump's basic philosophy of in small quotes, quote, friendship, effort, and victory, unquote. He commented of the original series, quote, I think the heat that it keeps readers um, constantly excited is the charm that has made it so beloved. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Being somebody who watched the anime. um, regarding his time filming, the actor asserted, quote, I have tried to create a fighting style that makes use of speed, a cool but actually companionable personality, and a sense of Hiei's character so that even those who like Hiei will be satisfied with my work. I don't know. Something may have been lost in the translation there. This is from chapter 99, Eat or Be Eaten, which actually I think was also used as a title for the actually they used that same expression as a title in the anime series as well, Eat or Be Eaten. Quote, scale is just so big, unquote. That was my honest impression. He added, quote, I can't go into details, but there are a lot of flashy things going on. There are many battle scenes of a scale that I have never seen before in Japanese productions. The action team's spirit is tremendous, so it will be a very powerful battle scene. Speaking to fans, Honga acknowledged, quote, Yu Yu Hakusho is one of Japan's most popular manga works. I would have to agree. Um, before promising that the series production team, quote, believes that we will be able to create a powerful visual work using modern state-of-the-art technology while keeping the images of the popular image of the popular original work in mind, unquote. Quote, I am sure that the work will exceed expectations, unquote, included, so please wait with anticipation. And there's a scene, there's one of my favorite scenes from the anime, from episode 30. Dragon of the Darkness Flame. All right, so before I read this last part, I gotta step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back. Just gotta do a couple of things here. And I'm back. Coming up on 41 minutes here. I'm making some good time here. Ah, all right, so getting ready to continue on with the article here. Finally, on July 19th, which was yesterday, Shuhei Uesugi was announced to round out the team as Kazuma Kuwabara. Compared to the other three, Uesugi has the least acting experience, with his filmography primarily consisting of roles in live action adaptations of drama, slice of life, and romance manga such as Hajime in 1 Week, Friends, um, Kananzaki and River's Edge, Hajime in 1 Week, Friends, Kananzaki in River's Edge, and Shinichiro Kazama in My Boyfriend in Orange. My Boyfriend in Orange, huh? And Kuwabara had orange hair. Interesting look. On joining Team Urameshi, an excited Uesugi declared, quote, "I never thought that I would be able to play a role in a work that I read in elementary school, and I was very happy to be able to play the role of Kazuma Kuwabara, the coolest character I have ever felt as an adult, who is honest, rugged, full of love, and straight ahead in what he believes in." Quote, "At the same time, I felt a lot of pressure and worry about how I would face the live action adaptation of the work, in which has many fans around the world, and what role I would play in making it a work that would be loved by everyone," unquote, he admitted. Quote, "I was also very excited to be working on a project for Netflix, a format with a global market." Is from River's Edge. Proceeding to gush about the original series, Uesugi, or Uesugi, highlighted how, quote, "each character has a distinct personality, and once you see them, you can't forget them." Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's also interesting to see how they play off of each other, too. Quote, "It was more than 20 years ago that I picked up this work at a friend's house and read it. But even as a child, I felt the indescribable fear and eeriness of Togoro's brother, and the overwhelming sense of strength and charisma of Togoro's brother," unquote, he reminisced. Quote, "Even now as an adult, I remember those days with an indescribable sense of wonder. In addition to the fascination of the enemies, all the allies and characters have their own unforgettable scenes and stories that stick in your mind." It's true. I would concur with that sentiment. Oh yeah, I guess the manga version of him coming up with the spirit fly swatter and defeating the younger Toguro. Let's see. Oh, to squash you whole, as I don't know your weak spots. It seemed really something. Took the most effective shape both times. Yu Hakusho Chapter 101, The Elder Toguro at his peak. Quote, I faced the role of Kuwabara while valuing his kind and straightforward feelings of wanting to become strong in order to protect someone important, unquote, the actor said of his approach to portraying Kuwabara. Quote, at the same time, I realized that trying to do so is a very difficult, lonely thing. All right, a little repetitive there, unquote. He added, quote, Kuwabara is not the type of person who is good at hiding his emotions. So I played the character while discussing with the director and cast members how Kazuma Kuwabara would feel and act in each scene and each cut. Yakusho, episode 16, Byakuya the White Tiger. Yes, this was a very interesting fight, too. I recommend you guys watch it. All right. Just check something here real quick. All right, getting back to the article here. Regarding his time on set, Uesegi stated that he, quote, was elated every day as I headed to the shooting site, as the scale and schedule of the filming was the most spectacular I had ever experienced, unquote. Quote, the set was of a size I'd never seen before. The scale of the CG shooting method I had never experienced before, and the location shooting that took place all over the country with a top-notch team. He noted it was the best shooting site where not only the cast but also the whole team communicated with each other, and everyone involved was seriously committed to making a great series. Wow. Unquote. You get stuff there. And here's, of course, from Yu Yu Hakusho episode 23, the Toguro Brothers Gang. Yes, is when it's basically when Kuwabara commits his heart to Yukina. Quote, I am so happy to think that the live-action adaptation of, in smaller quote, Yu Yu Hakusho, loved by all people all over the world, will be available on Netflix for people all over the world to watch, unquote, said Uesegi, as he drew his thoughts to a close. Quote, I can confidently tell you that this is a work that can be enjoyed regardless of national borders. We're confident that the series will be enjoyed regardless of national borders. Please look forward to it. As long as, of course, they don't start trying to push agendas. Or they're trying not to push agendas, they'll be fine. Here's Kuwabara with his spirit sword, Byaku's Lair, 1993. The series director was also revealed to be Sho Tsukikawa, who helmed the critically acclaimed live-action adaptation of Let Me Eat Your Pancreas anime. Unlike the director for Netflix live-action Cowboy Bebop, Tsukikawa not only is an actual fan of the series, but is passionate about bringing it to live action. Let Me Eat Your Pancreas. This is the scene from Let Me Eat Your Pancreas. Oh boy. Interesting title there. Quote, when I first heard about Yu Yu Hakusho receiving a live-action adaptation, I honestly wondered if it would even be possible. But after being presented with the producer's vision and possibilities with Netflix, my expectations grew, and I found myself burning with passion to make the project come to life, said Tsukikawa in reaction to being chosen to direct the series. Quote, I think the charm of Yu Yu Hakusho is above all the charm of its characters, unquote. Agreed. He opined, quote, I am still moved by the characters I fell in love with as a child. When I read it again as an adult, I discover new charms. Excuse me again as I need to make some lighting adjustments here in my room. I'll be right back. I'll leave you guys some music to listen to. I'm gone for a moment. I'm back. Anyways, getting back to the article here. The director further asserted that, quote, the themes that the stories encompass often never get old. Mhm. Quote, for example, unquote, said Tsukikawa, even though the story is set in a fantastical setting of a yokai and a human, there is a universal question lurking in the story. In small quotes, can people of different races understand each other? Unsmaller quotes. The more you read, the deeper you get into the story, which may be the reason why Yu Hakusho has been loved for so many years. And here's in Byaku's letter, Kuwabara, discussing the challenges in adapting the series to live action. Sugikawa noted, quote, our goal was to create a visual work that could be enjoyed simply as entertainment while keeping such universal themes as its foundations. Quote, although the initial stage of script writing focused on extracting themes that are relevant today, we decided that the appeal of Yu Yu Hakusho, in small quotes, lies in the relationship between the characters and the battles, and we included plenty of action scenes, unquote, he explained. The VFX are quite um, quite challenging, but we are working to achieve the highest quality that can be achieved today, unquote. And there's again, Karama in his demon form there, demon fox form. Proof in episode 92. Tsukikawa also spoke to Kitamura's casting as Yusuke, recalling, quote, I asked one of my most trusted actors, Takumi Kitamura, to play the role of the main character Yusuke. This is the fourth film we have worked together, and I feel that his expression has become even more refined, unquote. Quote, from the subtle expressions of emotion to the various actions he embodies, the character of Urameshi Yusuke with his whole body and soul, unquote, he argued. And here's Hiei after letting the dragon have his arm for using it. Dragon of the Darkness Flame. Quote, from the very beginning of this project, we have been working on this work with a strong awareness of the need to reach the global audience, unquote. The director told him, quote, just like when I first heard about live action film, um, there there may be many people who feel that it is important to realize, but I believe no matter how many words I can use, I have no choice but to prove it by the film itself. I will pour my heart and soul into the project until the very end, so that we can deliver the highest quality entertainment from Japan to the world. And there's Botan right in their street clothes. After you have this chapter 19 action. So shonen fans finally get a respectable quality adaptation of a beloved series. Will Netflix destroy our childhood with another woke production? At this point, only time will tell. Well, at least based on what we're seeing thus far from, Netflix Japan, not Netflix USA, it's Netflix Japan doing this. At least from what we've seen thus far, I would say that we aren't going to get a woke version of it. It's going to be more closer to home to what actually supposed to be. Anyways, so that's the first of 4 articles we're doing. So, all right. So we got through that one as the first article. Now to this article, which of course should hopefully bring in a lot of people, considering that this is more of a major thing for a lot of us who've been sitting around the last 3 years or so, 3-4 years. Let's get to this now. Anime Matsuri teams with Vic Mignogna to launch new dubbing studio, sparking outrage from voice actors, critics. Um, Article by Nerdigans Inc. Published earlier today. Alrighty then. So it seems grudges run deeper and are even saltier than the Dead Sea, as the recent announcement by Anime Matsuri and Vic Mignogna that they have partnered to open a new dubbing studio has drawn outrage from the voice actor's usual critics. And considering that Anime Matsuri is based in Houston, it's kind of funny because if anything, it's going to be it's going to be somewhat of a. It's going to be a. I'm kind of sad to see this because I would have liked to see Vic work again, go back to work with Sentai and stuff like that. But this is going to put them in direct competition with Sentai Filmworks, Seraphim Digital Sound. It's going to put them in direct competition with those guys. So that's the thing right there. But anyways, let's see what else is being said here in regard to this. Genban no Jo. Established in November 2021 and officially revealed by Anime Matsuri and Mignogna via a special live stream on July 17th, which was this past Sunday, the new studio has already began recording content, with their first confirmed efforts being English language dubs of 2 Nippon animation films, Zip Shimezo and Genban Noho. Now, I've heard too that Vic is going to be not only going to be voice acting in some of these, but also will be doing the ADR directing as well. So it's gonna be interesting who else they brought on board. Because the thing because not that I want to get too deep or talk too much about it, but I've heard that a lot of the voice actors in around the areas, granted, aside from those, like we already know the usual suspects of who's against them, but there are those who are just more quietly behind the scenes, either just trying to stay neutral or who may be siding with Vic more silently so as not to get blasted by Vic's detractors. Let's see. Alongside Mignogna, the live stream revealed several additional voice actors who had signed on contributed their voices to the 2 dubs. I'd be very interested to see and hear who some of those would be. Let's see. These included Jacob Takanashi, who portrayed Griff in Farfetch, Morgan Barry, who portrayed 13 in My. Now that one honestly is a little more surprising, as I had actually understood it. Morgan Barry was is lesbian, and she is one of those who was somebody who was somewhat outspoken in the whole Me Too movement. I'm a little surprised that she would be involved in this project, because she might have been one of those who might have, while she may not have been she may not have been as outspoken, let's say, as like Monica or Jamie or Kara, Monica Real or Jamie Markey or Kara Edwards. Um, I still had the sense that Morgan Berry, and I could be wrong, based on some of the things I had seen initially, I'd have thought Morgan Berry would have been a bit more sympathetic to their side of the argument, as it were. So, Crystal Laporte, the widow of Christopher Ayers, um, Mirai Kuriyama in Beyond the Boundary, Ashley Nichols, creator, Farfetch, Jeff Johnson. Johnson's another guy from Funimation, but Jeff Johnson isn't necessarily a part of the main Funimation crowd. I've seen his credit in a lot of Funimation work, but a lot of times he's usually more like background. It's not like he's one of the guys who is usually cast in like a lot of the main stuff. Who portrayed Makoto Takaya in Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S. Linda Young, presumably a typo on Linda Young, who voiced Frieza in Dragon Ball Z GT. Cynthia Krantz, presumably typo on Cynthia Krantz, who voiced Chi Chi and Tiffany. Yeah, and some of these we know, like some of these older, okay. Some of these are people who were with Funimation more towards the beginning, more before like Monica and all them came in and started just going woke on everybody. But Linda was one of the ones who, everybody knows her as Frieza from who voiced Frieza in the Dragon Ball series. She was the first Frieza before, of course, they had Christopher Ayers take over for her, some point later. Of course, she's the mother of John Bergmeyer. She also was Genkai in Yu Yu Hakusho. Let's see. Cynthia Krantz, who, of course, was Chi-Chi in Dragon Ball. She was also Botan in Yu Yu Hakusho, in the Funimation dub of Yu Yu Hakusho. Tiffany Vollmer, who was the second English voice actor for Bulma, after Lelania Lindbergh, I believe, up in Canada. Let's see. Hallie Todd, who was Northampton in Azure Lane. Brian Massey, Monkey D. Dragon in One Piece. Another longtime Funimation voice actor who, again, you didn't really hear too much. Karen Sharp and Nola Klopp, Circus Baby and Fazby and Friends. So yeah, a lot of these some of them are people who are a little bit older. Well, I wouldn't say older as much, but just people who were some of these are Funimation voice actors or former Funimation voice actors from more of their earlier days in the company, who had somewhat fallen out of favor with the current regime for varying reasons. Others are like some of them like Jeff Johnson are guys who, yeah, they've worked with Funimation, but they're not really part of that crowd. They usually might get brought in for a the one surprise to me here again is Morgan Berry. Because from what little I had known of her or seen some of her comments, I would have thought she would have been somewhat more um, sympathetic to the Chick Vic side. But if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong about this. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong about it. So, yeah, many of these others, of course, are just people you haven't heard of before, probably had nothing to do with Funimation. So, so those are the cast members. Okay. Oh, they didn't necessarily specifically say who they were doing, but these are the people who they cast in these two productions. They just didn't specify which productions they were actually in. So, unsurprisingly, this announcement drew backlash from a number of Mignonist detractors, as of course it's not going to, including many of those who supported his blacklisting from the anime industry following his being accused of sexual misconduct by fellow voice actors Monica Rial, the current voice of Bulma in the Dragon Ball franchise, and Jean Markey, Lisa Gramori in High School DxD in 2019. Let's see. The outrage fest was kicked off by Twitter user Top Tier Dub Clips, who near immediately after the live stream publicly declared, quote, the idea of Anime Matsuri creating a dubbing studio to dub obscure old anime out of spite that Vic was blacklisted from the industry doesn't surprise me, but I'm appalled and astonished anyone reputable would even want to take part in this. Yeah, well, up yours, dude. And of course, now with this, of course, being said here, the risk that these other people, now, granted, that in some of the cases, it would be real, you know, real nasty. Like, for example, they start going after Crystal Laporte. That'd be kind of nasty because Crystal Laporte, like a year ago, lost her husband, Christopher Ayres. Now, not that I like, not that I want to, make too big a deal out of this, but Christopher Ayres was still on good terms at the time of his passing, and from the looks of it, Crystal may be as well. And a lot of people, now from what I understand, I don't know if Dick actually attended Chris's funeral, only because he would have most likely had to, come into contact with Greg, Chris's brother. And I know that even though Chris and Vic seem to have a pretty good relationship, it was kind of the opposite with Greg. Greg came out in 2016, and like a few of the other out actors at Funimation, they would try to sit there and claim that Vic was intolerant of homosexuals. So, but that's just that. But you do have, again, let's see, you have Morgan Berry, who is involved with Funimation, Crystal Laporte, who's done work with, of course, Sentai. She still does work. Jeff Johnson has done some bit work for, I don't know if he'll get any more, or I don't know if he's gotten any more. I know I've seen Jeff Johnson's credit on a few of the older stuff. like Yu Yu Hakusho and Dragon Ball and all that. Of course, Linda Young was kind of pushed out of the Freezer role because they felt she just couldn't handle it. Cynthia Krantz had remained fairly neutral. Tiffany Vollmer, she was, as people know, the second voice of Bulma. Brian Massey. Let's see. Let's continue on here. In response to this tweet, the prominent proponent, in response to this tweet, prominent proponent of the Kick Vic campaign, Lauren Renfremus Cooper, opined, quote, well, that's a surprising and somewhat disappointing list of VAs who signed on with the anime Matsuri Vic Mignogna Pervs Incorporated dubbing studio. Yeah, the best way to counter these negative people is for Vic and anime, for that dubbing studio to just outdo them all. Just prove to them that, yeah, you can't blacklist me. Granted, I still wish that the appeals court would come back and vote in favor of, granted, I think we've all been pretty patient. We know that, they got a full diet. They probably have a lot of other stuff, but I think we really would like to see them rule in favor of Vic and get this case back on roll and give Vic a chance to really present his case and show that they did indeed defame him. But I do hope that that this studio does in fact. Yes, and we got Mars. Let's see. At Top Tier Dub Clips post was then retweeted by former Channel Awesome content creator Kaylin. Now, mind you, those of you who watch my channel know that one of the big issues what I started commenting on was, of course, the Vic Mignogna situation. But with nothing major coming out a whole lot, of course, I hadn't really even talked about these people in quite some time. I'd, of course, moved on to other things, just as a lot of people have. Not to say that when stuff like this came up, I wouldn't, come back to it and give my commentary on it. But, yeah, but again, they're, as the article stated in the beginning, the salt is coming, So anyways, in Top Tier Dub Clips post was then retweeted by, so that Kaylin Mars Girl Salcedo, who added her own thoughts regarding Mignogna's return to voice acting. Quote, a Voltron of bad people coming together so Vic can return to anime was the only way we knew it was going to happen. So that's not surprising. And what's really going to really turn the salt on for this too is if the studio does in fact succeed. Because a lot of people are sick and tired of Funimation and now Sony's baloney. Now, granted, I don't think it's bad off with Sentai. Sentai I think still has a lot of good people involved. But the fact that, and that these people are gonna ramp it up again. These people are gonna try to ramp it up. They're gonna try to like castigate those who chose to. But for me, I'm surprised that Morgan Berry is on it. It's a pleasant surprise. If I've been wrong about her in terms of whether or not she, because I was under the impression she might have been siding more with the Kick Vic crowd. But if I was wrong about that, I'm happy to be wrong about that. So, um, anyways, and you know that they're scared here too because they know Vic will succeed. They know that Vic will likely succeed here because Vic even with all the garbage that's happened to him the last 3 years here, that still remains popular. Even though he hasn't been doing a lot of dubbing the last 3 years. He's been doing other stuff. He's been doing convention appearances, and he's still very popular at conventions. You know, people still want to see him. He's still got a strong fan base, and they can't stomach it. These people like Mars Girl, like Renfamous, like many people in the Kid Vic, if now Vic starts to show some kickback to them in terms of like he starts succeeding again. Now it's like they can't do anything about it because now this is a separate company altogether. This company comes in and surpasses all these woke BSers. It's gonna be the ultimate salt sucker right there. Let's see now. Quote, that other VAs are on board with either Anime Matsuri or Vic, and she put like a couple stars there, is extremely disappointing. Vic is the ADR director, and this debuts at, in brackets, Anime Matsuri in 2 weeks. Yeah, and if they succeed, guess what? Uh, let's see. Salcedo then proceeded to set her sights specifically on Klopp, taking note of a tweet made by the voice actress. Well, let me just review who. Oh, Nola Klopp. All right, let me see what this one's about because Nola Klopp is one of those I had not heard of before this, but in which she voiced her own excitement regarding the project by writing, quote, "Stoked to announce I'm the voice of Chio, Hana's sweet but sassy great-grandmother in the upcoming English dub of Genban no, a beautiful anime movie from Nippon Animation based on a Japanese folktale. It'll premiere with a Q&A after at Anime Matsuri on July 29th, which will be a week from this Friday. Quote, at least one voice actor does not seem take issue with this, unquote, began Salcedo, before proceeding to take any of Klopp's attempts to limit her own harassment as a tacit admission that the project was being mishandled. At least one voice actor does not seem to take issue with this. Now, this I don't understand. Like, okay, before proceeding to take any of Klopp's attempts to limit her own harassment as a. All right, I have no idea what that. I mean, who is harassing? Okay, if y'all. Okay, are you trying to say Kaylin is Kaylin admitting to harassing Klopp, or is I mean I don't really get that statement. Imply to user Mr. Black of SB, um, who shared a screenshot confirming that Klopp had blocked their account and accused, quote, she knows, unquote. Salcedo asserted, quote, that doesn't seem good. So they're already starting on the people who are not, they're already starting to harass the people who are not as well known. So it seems like here they're starting to go after Klopp, and I just hope that Klopp will stand up to him. Yeah, the best thing to do, in this case, so they can't really hurt you too much, is block them. Don't even deal with them. Okay, let them cry if they want. You know, Informed by Mr. Black of SB that Klopp had hidden a reply authored by themselves where they had asked, quote, "Are you aware that the ADR director for this is a known sex pest who tried to sue his victims into silence? Just thought you might want to know," Salcedo stated. Well, that doesn't seem good. If he is the ADR director, and considering how much coverage this got, I'm sure she would have known, and maybe I'm guessing maybe Nola Klopp, made her own mind up, didn't follow the mob, looked at the evidence herself, and felt that, as many of us who, maybe she felt that based on her own analysis of the information, it was all BS. Met with the reveal that Klopp's tweet had been deleted, Castedo further attempted to stoke the fires against Mignana and Anime Matsuri by writing, "And now the tweet's gone. What the bleep is even happening?" Including a reply from Twitter user at BlackGamer1 to Renfrew above tweet, which saw the former state, "As you can see right here, the copium is already strong with the amount of people who fail to understand the voice acting industry isn't going to be gate kept by left." Oh, okay. Let me read that again because that sounds. Huh. Retweet. Okay, so I'm going to reread this. Retweeting a reply from Twitter user at BlackDGamer1 to Renfamous at Renfamous above tweet, which saw the former state, quote, "As you can see right here, the copium is already strong with the amount of people who fail to understand the voice acting industry isn't going to be gatekept by the left wing clique for much longer." Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I'll expect the usual suspects to start sabotaging deals for Anime Matsuri, unquote, Sastedo lamented. Um, quote, "See, it's already become a right versus left dilemma," unquote. Quote, it's already a cultural war for these dudes, unquote, she proposed. Quote, rather than just these specific people are just kind of sleepy. Yeah. I mean, that's basically, she continued her thread by dismissing Well, I'm almost looking at these two licenses, and it just looks like um, in smaller quotes, the most okayish anime. Yeah, and yeah, but the thing is that when people go out and they watch these movies, and anime not very big make a lot of this money, despite your efforts to sabotage it, you guys are going to look like the biggest fools of all. Well, what's the plan after anime not very streaming? He asked. Quote, distribution? I do think they'll sell a stack of studs who feel they have something to prove to the libs, but what about after them? Well, you got to start somewhere. Salcedo then added, quote, because this is the internet, you are right to take things you hear anonymously with a grain of salt. But a source tells me at least one of the voice actors in this project was led to believe another actor was opening a new studio and would be the ADR director. They were misled. That might explain. That might it that could explain Morgan Berry because again I don't because again as I said from everything I had seen prior to this, Morgan Berry seemed um Morgan Berry had seemed more sympathetic to the six side of the argument than to the standard. But how could you not know, if Enemy Fury was involved, but there might be a possibility Dick might be, because Enemy Fury is the one con, and it's still going strong, mind you. So even despite Dick's attempts to get them discredited and get people to stop going to them, they still are still going strong. Cannot speak for every single member of the cast, he wrote, but yes, in the case of at least one of them, Anime Matsuri pulled the wool over their eyes. Well, I'll take that with a grain of salt. In multiple layers, it was super deceptive and creepy. I would love to give more details, but I need to wait until I hear approval. So long story short, as per usual, the real bad guys are the story are Anime Matsuri and literally anyone who has been associated with them in the past. No, you're the bad guy. Yeah, that's a little bit of a typo here. Quote, it's crazy we keep having this conversation about them. Of course, it's their fault. A fatal tirade eventually gave way to an interesting exchange between Self and Rial, beginning with the latter replied to the thread's opening tweet, he claimed, quote, the list certainly makes blocking easier, but I'm pretty upset that I was neutral with some of these people, unquote, wrote Salcedo to the voice actor. Same, but I have no patience for anyone willing to associate with someone like that, said Rial in turn. So I guess maybe they are talking about people like Crystal Laporte and Morgan Berry and Brian Matthews and Jeff Johnson. Um, I mean, I kind of from what I had known, I figured we already kind of knew that Linda Young and Cynthia Krantz and Cynthia Gomer were all kind of citing the Vic for a while now. But again, I didn't necessarily want to talk a whole lot about it because I didn't want to risk bringing more heat onto them than especially after they saw what me and Jamie went through. I went down the list and blocked. Healthy boundaries are necessary. Maybe what they believe is that maybe after analyzing all that, maybe they believe that you're the essence. But anyway, let's see. Speaking of, late the same day, Marky declared, "What a great day for a mass blocking." Asked, well, what happened by Twitter user um, Wild Hallow, Marky asserted, well, oh, the usual actions and consequences. Interestingly, though vague, Barry also appeared to respond to the backlash. I want to see what he had to say here because this is somebody based on everything I had known up to this point. I was under the impression she actually was more aligned with Kick Dick. So let's see what taking to her personal Twitter account, the voice actress detailed a lot. Quote, a lot can change from time you record a project to the time it premieres. And sometimes we have no clue who we're going to be working with at the time. Yes, but if Vic was if now Kaylin is trying to sit there and say that Morgan was the one who was deceived, I doubt that because if you think about it, the ADR director is the voice for it. Morgan would have known. Okay, you can't tell me that Morgan did not know that she was working with them. Okay, um, and sometimes we have no clue who we're going to be working with. Time. We're not given a full list of all the people involved. Freelance work is unpredictable. Okay, but um, yeah, they said that this is somewhat vague. Hmm. But first off, I cannot honestly believe that she did not know she would be. If Vic was in fact the ADR director for this, I cannot believe that Morgan did not know that. So, however, not everyone involved with the series was as ostensibly ashamed of being attached to the project as Barry. Um, quote, announcement tweeted the aforementioned Takanashi, quote, I'm super excited to share that I will be providing the voice of the protagonist Genban Noho in the English dub of Genban Noho. There will be a premiere and Q&A at Anime Matsuri. This is my first anime protagonist role. Ah. What are your thoughts on the reaction of Vic, to Vic's new video? Yeah, not super surprising. Not really, because you knew these people would probably come out of the woodwork to try to sabotage it. I mean, the only real surprise to me is Morgan Berry, because at least up until this, but her response almost seems to indicate that she's going to try to sell it like, oh, she didn't know she was working with Vic, but I'm not going to believe that for 1 minute, because he's the ADR director. Okay, I'm sorry, but if he was the main if he was the ADR director, you know full well you're going to be working with him. Okay, I don't know where Morgan's take on the whole Vic thing is, because everything I had seen her past comments on the whole situation seemed that she was sympathetic. She may not have been as vocal as like Monica or Jamie or Kara, okay, but she was more sympathetic to their side of the argument, their side of the issue. Now, if I'm wrong about that, I'm happy to be wrong about it. If she's somebody who upon who maybe upon looking back at all this, realizing, okay, this is BS, no, I am going to, the only disappointing factor in that then is that she just didn't stand up to these bullies and say, hey, you guys were wrong about Vic. Vic's not this way. Screw you. Anyways, that's all of that. So we took quite a bit of time. So we have a couple more articles that probably going through a little faster here. See what time is it now? Oh, wow, we're almost at the 2. We're already at the hour 42. Okay, I'm gonna keep going here, but before I do here, got to make some lighting adjustments here. So. And I'm back. Alrighty then. So, hey Rick, and this is yeah. I was still here, and I'll make sure to call you a little later. I wanted to know if you might be interested in coming in this Friday to co-host. Um, with the guy who I was originally going to have this Friday canceled on me. So, anyways, I just got through a couple of interviews, so I'm going to be just starting to run studio. So, I'm going to get into comics. Right. Some versions of Spider-Man use their own thing, their own thing. Article by some Norton Sunday School. Here we go. Um, anyway, article. Um, I heard comic book fans have always known Spider-Man has been one of the most risky characters in terms to ultimate version of himself. And after Into the Spider-Verse, even Spider-Man became aware of the Wallflowers in the race. Perhaps only Batman rivals in terms to different interpretations of the character. They are so stubborn and popular, many of them usually get their own live action and then repeat. Understand, Spider-Verse, Peter Parker and Mary Jane, um, and many different, again, many different children and many different people. But no usually Parker rules in the early 2000s. Her universe and the entire series in its terms was completely fleshed out and placed original characters and Peter versions of uh, although her series wrote made in a fairly prominent role in the blockbuster classic space, what's even better is that her origin story is as easily understood as Spider-Man moving up flipping jumping anything for some space. And I know this is also seen to Rod Spider.
Spider War and Spider from you know, and Rick, thank you for the like and share. And if something's wrong with the audio, it's not enough. Um, how am I now, Rick? Am I still muffled? I'm just in me mumbling just from the fact that I was only here on a little better, but not. Wow, we're almost at
All right. I'm thinking it's probably just maybe I've been on for a while, so that's probably why it's sounding like that. And I wasn't even aware was. Hopefully it'll get better here. Um, anyways, all right. So let me see if I can get back to the. Now you're crystal clear. Okay. All right. So yeah, maybe it was just a temporary problem then. Hopefully that's all it was. Um, anyways, let's get back to the article here. Hopefully I'll sound good for the rest of the broadcast. Hopefully it was, as I said, just a temporary problem. Okay, so number 9, Spider-Man Noir. So, noir being the French word for black, I believe, or dark. Um, Spider-Man Noir got some spotlight from Into the Spider-Verse, but the character is much more than that. As opposed to a radioactive spider bite, he actually got his powers from a totem, making him a bit more supernatural than his mainstream counterparts. However, that's not what makes Spider-Man Noir unique. Um, he's much darker, grittier. He's a much darker, grittier version of Spider-Man who even carries a gun. The best part about the character is that he could be an introduction to a whole noir universe that contains other characters like the X-Men and Punisher. Interesting. Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to see.
All right. And nothing new there yet. Spider-Man India. Okay. Spider-Man India was originally born out of the miniseries that reimagined the Spider-Man mythos in India, obviously. He recently played a much larger role in the Spider-Verse crossover and follow-up series Web Warriors. Besides his part in a larger Spider-Verse, Spider-Man India's main series was a great reimagining of the characters in Spider-Man's world for a much different setting that not many fans might be aware of. It's an interesting change of scenery from a somewhat familiar story. Spider Ham, number 7. Let's see now. Spider Ham is another character that stole the show in Into the Spider Verse. At this point, he probably needs no introduction to mainstream audiences, but he could use a vehicle of his own to shine. Even greater is the fact that he's part of a much larger animal themed Marvel universe. And there have been a few of those out there. DC had an animal universe, Earth C and Earth C minus. Um, so, um, let's see. And so many Marvel stories move towards becoming more dramatic. Sometimes it's fun to just step back and do something completely ridiculous and absurd with characters. In other words, the idea of anthropomorphizing characters, what they're talking about. Anyways, um, let's see. Number 6, Spider-Man 2099. Miguel O'Hara has been around for a while at this point, but that doesn't make him any less worthy of a solo vehicle. The 2099 universe has expanded to fit in many different characters and teams, but Spider-Man 2099 still remains its heart. Fans got to play as him briefly in the video game Spider-Man Edge of Time. But a solo film could really show what Miguel O'Hara can do. Casual Marvel fans might be surprised at how different Miguel is from Peter Parker. But as the tone for superheroes starts to move towards being edgier and darker, Miguel will fit right in. Number 5, Spider's Shadow, which kind of looks like a Venom version of Spider-Man, I guess. Spidey's heroism has become so ingrained in the public consciousness that it's hard to imagine him as anything else. But that's exactly what this recent What If miniseries sought to do. It asked the question, what if Peter Parker never rejected his black suit symbiote? Unquote. The results are shocking. In contrast to getting edgier and darker hero, Spider's Shadow goes into the complete opposite direction by giving fans an edgier and darker villain. It shows a path of corruption that is not often associated with Spider-Man, but the series was shocking enough that it's worthy of its own adaptation. Interesting. Spiders Man, number 4. I'm hoping I'm still sounding crystal clear. All right. So, yeah, that may have just been a temporary issue then. Hopefully that's all it was. Um, Anyways, getting back to this. Spider's Man number 4. The great thing about the Spider-Verse comic crossover is that it allowed a chance not just for notable versions of Spider-Man to come together, but for writers to create completely new and obscure ones. Spider's Man is just that. Garth Ennis once created a villain that was made up of 1,000 different spiders inhabiting a single body. Spider's Man does something similar with Peter Parker. He's actually a bunch of different spiders clumped together to form the figure of a man. Kind of, actually, if anything, it's kind of like the Aburame clan in Naruto. He's so weird and strange that even a brief adaptation of him would be worthwhile. Number 3, Scarlet Spider. From the Clone Wars saga. Right? Perhaps no Spider-Man character has had a more tumultuous ride than Ben Reilly. He's recently taken a dark turn as a new version of the Jackal, and then a new villain named Chasm. It was his time in the 90s as Scarlet Spider that fans remember the most. Besides having a great look to him, Ben's story arc is one of finding purpose in a world where nothing is as it seems. His emotional state has been jerked around so much that it's hard for him to find his footing. It's a very inspiring journey that's still going to this day. So to adapt part of it for the screen is a way to give the character a shot. Number 2, House of M. House of M story is fairly particular, but its approach to Spider-Man was unique in its own right. It sought to rewrite reality to give Peter Parker everything he ever wanted. But Peter, who's always surrounded by tragedy, couldn't handle it and broke down. It might be difficult to adapt the storyline while keeping the House of M premise intact. But that doesn't mean a similar Spider-Man story can't exist under different circumstances. Writers could come up with a different justification for the altered reality and just let the story flow from there. And then Spiderling. Like Mayday Parker, Annie is another possible offspring of Peter and MJ. She was originally part of the Secret Wars storyline, but her tale was so engaging that she lived on in a series after Secret Wars ended. What's interesting about Spiderling is that her story was told through multiple plot points in her life. In Mayday's reality, Peter was a broken man that quit being Spider-Man, but Annie still had a father who was active as a hero. Even more than that, her mother became one as well. Spiderling relishes her time as a hero, and many fans would love to see her come to life. Sounds like a pretty lively young lady. Somebody who a lot of people would want to probably. And as always, if anything in these articles that catches your attention, feel free to comment on them or ask questions about them. They actually did go over a story earlier that said about Vic and Anime Matsuri forming their own dubbing studio. So, So we have one last article to go over, which is another regarding Marvel Comics here. And it's about them swapping stuff out again. All right. Marvel Comics makes yet another sexuality swap, confirms Rachel Summers and Psylocke as bisexual couple in latest issue of Knights of X, article by Spencer McCulley, published earlier today. So let's go through this. In Marvel Comics' latest attempt to distract readers from their book's abysmal quality with a transparent attempt at pandering, the latest issue of Knights of X has revealed that longtime X-Men members Betsy Psylocke Braddock and Rachel Marvel Girl Prestige Summers are not only bisexual, but also wish to explore their newfound sexualities with each other. Okay. Penned by Tini Howard, with art from Bob Quinn, Eric Arciniega, and Ariana Maher, or Mar. Knights of X follows the exploits of the eponymous team as they attempt to both fight back against King Arthur and Merlin's recent coup of Otherworld, as well as track down the Siege Perilous, a powerful artifact which allows one to be given a new life free from any connection to their past, to give them an edge in the fight. Assembled by Betsy in her current identity as Captain Britain, the roster of the 616's latest mutant team include Megan Braddock, Richter, Gambit, Shatterstar, Shogo Lee, Bay, Kulun, a young and resurrected reincarnation of Mordred, and Rachel. Okay. While an attraction between Betsy and Rachel has been hinted at throughout all three of Howard's previously released issues, Knights of X, such as when the two expressed worry over each other's condition amidst a battle against King Arthur's Sentinel-inspired Furies in issue number 3, the fact was not officially confirmed until series' 4th issue. Following Gambit's death at the hands of Merlin at the conclusion of the previous issue, Knights of X number 4 finds the team retreating from the fight to the Mercator, where the Siege Perilous has become the land itself, and forces them to face their innermost selves in order to escape the wizard and regroup. Good to see we're getting some more likes at least. Hopefully everybody will stick around for the remainder here. Anyways, getting back to the article here. Let's see. All right. Everyone, that is, except Rachel, who, after being informed by a vision of the team's otherworld ally, Geraldine, that, quote, she needs you, unquote, races off to break her teammates free from the team's hold over their minds, from the realm's hold over their minds. Reuniting everyone save Gambit, whose body did not cross over with the rest of the team, and Betsy, Rachel proceeds send the latter a in smaller quote mental flare on smaller quote. Taking notice of her teammates' alert, Betsy soon rejoins the team. However, upon her arrival, the purple-haired heroine finds Rachel reacting to her safe return with a distressed expression on her face, prompting her to ask, quote, Rachel, why are you looking at me like that? Unquote. Choosing actions over words, Rachel responds by pulling in Betsy for a passionate kiss. Quote, are those rainbow butterflies? Unquote. Asked Rachel as she takes notice of their surroundings. Quote, bit on the nose, Rach, unquote, joked Betsy back. Only for Absalom Mercator himself to reveal that, quote, those are with me, unquote, apologized for the interruption and warned them of Merlin's oncoming approach. Hmm. It should be noted that prior to Knights of X, number 4, Rachel has never shown an explicit romantic or sexual interest in women. Though iconic X-Men writer Chris Claremont has admitted that he had intended to canonize a relationship between Kitty Pryde and Rachel during his run with Marvel's Merry Band of Mutants. His development never came to pass, and as such, Rachel has only been depicted as only ever having an attraction towards men. Most recently, the subject of Rachel and Nightcrawler's mutual attraction to each other, as established by Claremont in his 2004 return to Uncanny X-Men, was touched upon in X-Men Gold Volume 2, wherein the two entered into a brief relationship before the former broke things off. Yeah. I mean, you almost have to wonder how Scott and Jean are feeling about this, because Rachel is their daughter, basically. So, how are they feeling about Nightcrawler, who's their age, trying to hook up with her? I know. Likewise, Betsy has always been depicted as straight, with one complicated exception. As some may remember, during her tenure on Wolverine's revived X-Force Black Ops team, the X-Men turned hero of the British Isles found herself falling madly in love with one of her teammates, Phantom X. Sadly, during a conversation between X-Force and Mystique, then newly revived Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, the French mutant is killed after sacrificing himself to the Skinless Man in order to allow Betsy to escape his clutches. Of course, this being the world of comic books, the world of the X-Men in particular, Phantom X soon got over his briefcase of being dead. Okay, don't know if that's a typo or if that was intentional. Dead of being dead. I mean being dead. Shortly after defeating the Brotherhood, X-Force takes a detour to the White Skies criminal organization's cloud cloning facility and proceeds to use their technology to revive the Gentleman Mutant. However, thanks to Deadpool's premature starting of the cloning process, the cloud reads Fantomex's unique 3-in-1 brain as belonging to the respective amount individuals instead of a single person. So I'm guessing meaning 3-in-1 brain, so meaning separating out the 3 different personalities and cloning each of them separately. Guessing that's what they're talking about. And of course, feel free to comment on anything catches your attention here, everybody. Thus, the Frenchman was reborn in 3 separate bodies as Fantomex, Lady Fantomex, and Dark Fantomex, respectively, each embodying a different aspect of his being. This strange splitting of Fantomex's person soon led to confusion within Betsy, accelerated in no small part by Fantomex, who manipulated her emotions in order to allow him to use her as a scapegoat for his criminal plans. Who, thanks to her love of Fantomex as a whole, found herself having feeling for each individual manifestation of his personality. So even the female version, I guess. Eventually, this strange love triangle would lead Betsy to engage in an extremely brief tryst with Lady Fantomex, who had received the more romantic side of their original mind. The entire unorthodox nature of Fantomex's splitting leaves the question of Betsy's sexuality in question. While Betsy did engage in a physical and emotional relationship with a woman, that was pursued more out of her initial love for the original version of Fantomex rather than any inherent lesbian feelings. Again, it's complicated. What do you make of this latest sexuality swap? Marvel, let us know your thoughts on. Well, I basically believe that it's again being used to try to essentially being used to try to sell more books. You know, the whole shock value aspect of it. So that's all the articles I have for you guys tonight. So we're already coming up on 2.5 hours here. 2 hours 21 minutes. Gonna do some quick wrestling news here. News from WWE and AEW, and then we'll start to wrap things up. Go through the this day in each history, and then wrap things up. So on the let's see WWE side of it, WWE is still, of course, preparing for SummerSlam, but there are a lot of people disappointed because again, you're not really having a whole lot of big names there as much, or people who've been built up of late. One of the other pieces, there's been Austin Theory right now. They're pushing into a feud with Dolph Ziggler, and they're pushing Dolph to try to sabotage Theory's possibility of cashing in his Money in the Bank contract. I believe Theory is also going to be challenging Bobby Lashley to try to regain the United States heavyweight title. It was, I believe that it was just signed that Bianca Belair will be defending the Raw. I talked about this last night. We're defending the Raw Women's title against Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. Let's see what else. And Bill Goldberg, even though he's actually fulfilled all of his wrestling obligations, is still technically under contract with the WWE. And there's been some talk that they may use him in some of the upcoming international tours, particularly some of the shows in Saudi Arabia, as they've been using, some of the older names like Goldberg and, Undertaker and all that to try to, bolster sales, bolster interest in that. So that's all of the WWE news that and there's also some talk that NXT might be toying with the idea of establishing a women's tag title in NXT. Personally, I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think they should still try to reestablish the main roster one for now. But it doesn't really look like they're pushing a whole lot of tag teams in the women's division on either show. Now AEW, we got some news tonight. Is Dynamite's going on right now. Probably will have the results for you tomorrow on tomorrow's broadcast. But the main event, of course, is scheduled in what they're hoping to be the kind of the blow off to their feud. Eddie Kingston will be taking on Chris Jericho in a barbed wire everywhere match, in which Jericho stable, the Jericho Appreciation Society, will all be locked in a steel cage or in a shark cage, so they can't interfere. Also on tonight's episode of Dynamite, you have the team of the Varsity Blondes of Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. taking on Christian Cage and Luchasaurus as Varsity Blondes try to gain some revenge from last week's attack by Luchasaurus on Garrison and Pillman Jr. after Cage's comments about Brian Jr.'s father, Brian Pillman Sr. You also have tonight two members of the Blackpool Combat Club, AEW interim champion Jon Moxley teaming with Ring of Honor pure champion Wheeler Yuta, who's also preparing for his match against Daniel Garcia at this Saturday's Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view, taking on the team of best friends Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor, who Wheeler Yuta was formerly a part of that faction before being recruited into the Blackpool Combat Club. So that's all that's going on All Elite tonight. So we'll probably on Dynamite tonight. So we'll probably have more information on all that for y'all tomorrow. So now, with all that being said, it's probably a good time to start wrapping things up. So today is Wednesday, July the 20th. So let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. Anyways, the first thing I would like to do is I'd like to wish a happy 60th birthday to voice actor Carlos Alazraqui. He's an actor, voice actor, stand-up comedian, impressionist. Among his voice roles, he would do the Taco Bell Chihuahua for Taco Bell commercials. Denzel Crocker and Juan Gizmo Magnifico and Sheldon The Fairly Odd Parents, Rocco and Spunky and Rocco's Modern Life, Laszlo and Clem and Camp Laszlo, Ricochet and Mucha Lucha. Basically he had a number of roles, particularly in let's see, he was Mr. Weeks and Family Guy. So yeah. So I'd like to wish a happy 60th birthday to Carlos Tiny Elazraki. So happy birthday. So with that, getting ready to move on to the next piece of niche history as we move ahead to 30 years ago today, as on this date in 1992, a team known as Natural Disasters, comprised of Earthquake, real name John Tenta, and Typhoon, real name Fred Ottman. The Natural Disasters defeating Money Incorporated, of a team of Ted DiBiase and Herman R. Shyster, for the WWF Tag Team Championships in Worcester, Massachusetts. So on this date, 30 years ago today, Natural Disasters of Earthquake and Typhoon defeating Money Inc. for the WWE World Tag Team Championship. And with that, we have one more piece of niche history to look to. As on this date, 17 years ago today, in 2005. Let's see, I believe this was the fifth and that was the fifth and final issue of Castlevania: The Belmont Legacy from IDW went on sale on this date in 2005. Cover price $3.99, 32 page count. So so with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I know people didn't get in here till towards the end, so hopefully we'll hear more about the situation with Vic and how I hope that he and Anime Master, that their studio succeeds. Among all, above all else, and I do hope that we will get some measure of closure from the I'm trying to think here, from the appeals court, and they will send it back to be tried properly, and the case back to the court to be tried properly. So anyways, thank everybody for being here. I do have a bit of an announcement. Unfortunately, Shadowhawk informed me that he was going to have to cancel on Friday. So right now, I do not have a co-host for Friday. I am trying to get one ASAP. But hopefully I'll have somebody with me to go over the material. But Friday, of course, we'll be continuing our look at March of 1939. Comics that went on sale from David McKay Publications and Fox Feature Syndicate. And with that, guys, I thank you all for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.